Welcome to Money, Manifestation, and Business, the podcast that shows you how to use your energy, intention, and consciousness to reprogram your money mindset, unleash a new level of possibility, and create a life and business that lights you up. I'm your host, Jamie Berman, and I invite you to join me each week for a dose of inspiration, coaching, and teachings to help you rewrite your money story, create abundance on your terms, and grow your business in a way that's fully aligned for you. This is going to be so much fun. Let's dive in. Welcome back to the Money, Manifestation, and Business podcast from my brand new office on the island of Maui in Hawaii, where I totally manifested living. And it is done. I'm here. I'm getting settled in. I don't have all my furniture yet. I did get a fully furnished home, which is a wonderful thing and has been amazing. But all of our, extra personal stuff has not quite arrived yet, but I am getting going. I'm getting started. I wanted to record an episode for you today from the new space, the new office, which I have to say, I just can't stop pinching myself and saying, is this real? Is this my life? Because this home is a dream come true in every way and more. It is even more amazing than I imagined. In fact, a couple episodes back, I talked about how I manifested my dream home. But the funny thing is I had never been to it. I'd never seen it because we had gone back and forth so many times over the summer. And when we finally found this house, we just couldn't possibly make another trip. We didn't have the time for it. And it felt so aligned. We saw videos of it. We talked to the owner. It just felt so right. And it felt like a needle in a haystack in terms of what we wanted, desired, needed. And we finally found it. So we just went for it, sight unseen, other than videos. So when we actually got here, it was really fun because I don't totally know this area where I used to live, where I used to have my condo where we live part-time is on the other side of the island. So this is a totally new space for us. And while we had been here and we'd been around and we got the general gist of it, I didn't know the ins and outs and all the streets. We literally had to put our new address into Google Maps from the airport and find our way here. And, so there was so much that's a little scary. I really hope we like it as much as we think. And thank goodness it is beyond what we imagined, beyond what the videos even showed. And it's just the most magical space. So I am so very grateful. So for those of you who have been on this journey, listening to me talk about this manifestation for so many years, first of all, thank you for being along the journey and for supporting me. And I'm just so thrilled to share that it is here, it is done. And I'm so excited for what's going to be created here. For those of you who may come visit, maybe I'll host retreats here. It is the perfect space for retreats. And so I am beyond thrilled. Josh is beyond thrilled. Millie is beyond thrilled. So my little family is just in so much alignment. And it is the best feeling ever because I will tell you what, this wasn't the most easy manifestation, but I had high standards. I had high standards that I held and that I held and I held and I held. And that I didn't waver on and that I was patient with. And then finally, it all came about and it all manifested. And that's why I wanted to do this episode today about raising your standards for your life, for your business, for the amount of money that you want to make, for your financial reality, for your well-being. Raising your standards. And I want to talk about why this matters, right? Because here is the thing. If you don't have high standards for yourself, you are going to live on autopilot. If you don't have high standards for your life and for your financial reality, you will live on autopilot. You will just believe what your mind tells you. You'll go with whatever the status quo is, whatever those around you told you is possible. But I will tell you what, if you want to live a life that is beyond your wildest dreams, if you want to have a business that creates so much impact and is in so much alignment for you and brings so much joy into your life, and if you want to be able to have the experiences that you want in this lifetime, that takes money. So we want to raise those standards for ourselves and say, I am no longer willing to have just enough, right? And I know that this is a common misbelief for so many people is, well, I have enough. How could I want more? The truth is, why not want more for yourself? There's nobody that is benefiting from you having just enough. No one. No one's benefiting from it. So why not go for overflow? Why not go for beyond? Why not go for pinch me, this is my life? And the way you do that is by raising your standards. And when I say raising your standards, I mean raising your standards of what you believe you are worthy of. Raising your standards of what you envision for yourself or your life. Raising your standards for what you believe is possible, or being willing to step into a vision without totally believing it's possible, without knowing the how. But being willing to really dream big and go for what you really want in this lifetime. It's about no longer settling for things that are clearly out of alignment, no longer settling for, having constant emotions that drain you. No longer settling for something that it just doesn't feel like you, or relationships that don't feel like you, or a business or a career that doesn't feel like it is your highest calling. You got to stop settling. So we're going to talk about raising your standards today. We're going to talk about what this looks like in different areas of your life. And then I want to talk about how you actually do it. So since this is the Money Manifestation and Business podcast, we're going to talk about how to raise your standards with money, with manifestation, and with business. And I have to say, I have had, for some reason, very high standards for my life. I am someone who tends to be kind of I don't want to say it's all or nothing, but it's like, it's either got to be amazing or I don't want it at all. So for example, I remember I used to think, well, I'm either going to marry someone who is freaking awesome, amazing, best relationship ever, or I'm not getting married. Like my standard was so high that it was like, I'll probably never get married was my thought, because I didn't believe that I could actually find someone with those high standards. But it was like, yeah, that partner's got to be incredible. Otherwise, I'm just not going to get married, right? So that was one way I looked at it. And then with even moving out here to this home, like we looked at a lot of B pluses, right? And it took us a lot of time, right? We put our house on the market in LA in June, and we didn't end up moving until pretty much November. And we could not find a place for the life of us. In fact, well, we were finding places. We were finding good places, but that's where it stopped, was good. It was actually even maybe more than good, right? So there were things where it was like, ooh, this is a B plus, like love the area, but don't love the house, right? It was a funky house. Or it would be love the house, love the view, but don't totally love the neighborhood or the area. So we always said, this is like worst case scenario. If our house sells, we'll just have to move into it. We'll live in it a year, but it was a B plus. So we didn't take action on any of these because they were all good and maybe even more than good. But what we wanted was freaking fantastic. We wanted a hell yes home. So we held off because we had high standards for what we wanted for ourselves. We thought, you know what, if we're going to do this whole move, we might as well get what we really, really want and more. So we stayed patient and held the vision for that high standard. Also, I remember in college thinking, I want to move out to California, right? I grew up in the Midwest, had only ever lived in the Midwest, and I wanted to move to a big city, right? And I remember thinking, I really want a house with a view. I started learning about manifestation, and I was like, I want to live there. And I remember so many people saying, how are you going to afford it? It's so expensive. And I was like, I don't know, but it's my life, right? Like gonna do what I want in my life and I'll figure it out. I have high standards for my life. I live one precious life. Let's freaking go for it. And same with business. I remember when I was working retail and I was working at Nordstrom and I was working my way up and I did really well there. And I was amazing at selling. In fact, I was a pace setter there. And every job that I ever did, I did a good job at. But it wasn't the standard of life that I wanted. I remember thinking, I am going to have weekends off. I want time freedom. I want to be making the kind of money that I want. And that is why I decided to start a business that came from the high standard of my life and what I wanted for my life. Now, that doesn't mean everyone is going to feel in alignment with, starting a business or moving to Hawaii or moving to California or any of those things. But what I'm saying is, where is it in your life that you are just getting by? That you're just like, this is enough. It's okay. Where you feel like it's not actually what you truly want. Maybe it's the home you live in. Maybe you're like, it is way too small and stuffy and it's not what I really want. I want a more expansive space. Or maybe it's in your business. Maybe you're like, this isn't actually what I really want to be doing. I know I had that moment, right? I used to do PCOS coaching and I did health and wellness and body image and weight loss. And while I liked it, and it was certainly more than good enough, I got to coach, I had awesome clients. It wasn't the standard that I really wanted. And why was it not the standard? Because for my soul, it didn't feel like what truly lit me up. It didn't feel like it's what I was here to do ultimately in that next season of my life. So I had to be willing to let go of something that was really good. It was a 6-figure business. I had a full client roster. I let go of something good to step into something great because I had a high standard for what I wanted. And yes, it takes some risk to have high standards. It also takes a lot of patience. It takes a lot of growing and learning and working through obstacles to finally get what it is that you really want. Sometimes it takes time. Sometimes it takes growing into it and becoming it and evolving into it. But here's how you will live a life of your dreams, your wildest dreams, is you have to set the bar high, set the standard higher. So that is what I am offering to you today. I want to encourage you to reflect on this and say, where am I actually playing small? Where am I dreaming small? Where am I not believing that I could have something like that? Maybe you're saying, oh, that's for other people. Good for them. That must be nice. Oh, going on those kind of vacations. That must be nice. Where are you doing that to yourself? Where are you limiting yourself? Where is your self-talk talking you down while putting others on a pedestal for some reason or another? You gotta be willing to call that out because it's BS. And I'll tell you, as long as you believe it, as long as you give into it, that is the kind of life you will live, right? In fact, it's so funny because what sort of inspired this episode is I was just scrolling through TikTok. Love me some TikTok at night. It just relaxes me. So I was scrolling through TikTok and some random post came on my For You that was like, okay, those of you who own homes that are over $500,000, what do you actually do? What do you do for a living? And I replied to this girl. I never really replied, but I'm like, here's the thing. It's not about what you do. First, you have to decide you are worthy of it without having to know the how, without knowing what you're going to do to get it. The first step is deciding you're claiming that. You are going to buy a home that is over $500,000, right? And of course, I put this more succinctly in the comment, but I'm like, it's not like all these people are sharing what their careers. I'm like, it's not about that. It's about setting that standard for yourself that you are someone who's going to buy a $500K plus home. How do I know this? I did it, right? I used to have that same question back in the day when I worked retail. How the heck in California was how do these people afford millions of dollar homes? What do they do? What's going on for them? And now that I've gone through the journey and I have owned several multi-million-dollar homes, I know that it's not about what you do. It's about deciding to dream that it's possible, creating that vision for yourself, deciding that's your standard. Not that it has to be a multi-million-dollar home, but it's like, what is the feel of the home? Maybe it is that you feel called to be a home owner and deciding that's possible for you. That is one thought that you can choose. What if it's actually possible for me? What if, even though right now my brain doesn't know the how or the when, or doesn't know, it's just like, what? You can decide it might be possible for me. What if it could be possible? What if I don't have to know the how? I just have to decide it's what I want, that's the standard for myself. And you set the standard. That's always going to be step one. I always say it's creating the vision. So I want to encourage you to reflect on this, and let's think about it in terms of money specifically, right? We're going to talk about money. We're going to talk about it around business, and then let's talk about it around your life. So around money, I want you to reflect on this. Where is it that you are limiting yourself financially? That you're telling yourself, I can't afford it. I can never afford something like that. Or maybe you aren't even dreaming big in terms of what's possible for you in terms of how much money you make. Whether that's in your career, whether it's in your business, whether it's monthly. How are you limiting yourself? I want you to notice that, reflect on it, catch it, and to say, and really ask yourself, what would it be like to elevate my standard financially? What would that look like? How much money would I actually want to make? Like, what is the amount that's going to allow me to live the full-on lifestyle that I want? Maybe that is taking the vacations that you want and actually flying first class when you go internationally. Maybe it's, I don't know, putting your kids in private school, or maybe it's owning a rescue, like a dog rescue, something like all of this life stuff takes money. All of your dreams take money. So think about, what is your dream? What would you actually really love? Maybe it is buying that house that's over $500,000, right? And then ask yourself, well, how much would I want to make, right? Not have to. What would I want to make? And letting yourself go there and say, what if it's possible? What if I don't have to know the how now? Even if the path doesn't seem like it would work out that I'm currently on to create that, what if the path will unfold and it could be even better than what I have going right now, right? So think about that. But I also want you to think about your standards in terms of how you relate to money. Like, do you have a standard right now that's like, chaos is okay? Having ups and downs and debt and, going up and down and having inconsistency, maybe that's your current standard. And I want you to consider, what would it be like to choose a new standard, to elevate what your standard is? Maybe that standard is, I no longer want to use debt in order to keep growing. I want to keep growing, but I don't want debt to be the way if it doesn't feel in alignment. Maybe your new standard is, you know what? I'm going to have a great relationship with money. I don't want to feel anxious and scarce every time I look at my bank account. My new standard is going to be calm. It's going to be abundant. It's going to be trusting. It's going to be knowing. It's going to be secure and confident. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at my money and nurture it consistently. Maybe your new standard is going to be discipline, which I love discipline, right? Not in a way of restriction, not in a way of force, but in a way of loving on money, being disciplined and looking at it and caring for it. Maybe you want to just be more intentional about your spending. Maybe you want to be more intentional about investing more heavily in yourself. That can be a new standard that's going to help you grow so much. So start thinking about where the energy leaks are in your relationship with money and how you can elevate your standard and set a new standard for yourself, because it will make all the difference and you will manifest the standard that you hold. You really will. I'm going to teach you how to do that, right? We're going to talk about how to actually step into a new standard. But for now, I just want you to start reflecting on what would that new standard around money be? Maybe it's consistency. Maybe it's in how you feel. Maybe it's in how you treat money. Maybe it's in what you believe is possible for you. All these things can be a new standard that you set. Okay, let's shift gears and talk about business. Where are you settling in business, right? Meaning, are there offers that you have that are just not in alignment? Are there ways in which you're doing business or trying to market that do not feel like you, that drain the heck out of you? Are there things that you are letting yourself get by with, but you know you have a lot of potential in this area? Maybe there's skills that you're just not learning because there's resistance there, right? Maybe like around selling, maybe around your relationship with money, maybe around investing. Where is it that you could elevate your standard and it would make all the difference? Maybe it has to do with your schedule. Are you still overworking? Are you still putting in a ton of hours and not living your life because you think you have to hustle for results? That is a very low standard for yourself. You can elevate the standard for what your hours are. And to do that in alignment with your energy, right? When am I most energized? When do I feel most alive? When am I most productive? And what could I do outside of that that's going to fuel me and really allow me to live my best life? You can really set a new standard in terms of working hours. Also, team. This is a big one that I coach on. Where are you just settling? Are there any energy leaks in your team? Meaning, are you allowing your team members to, flop on tasks, to forget things, to fall through on deadlines? Check in, because the standard you set will make all the difference. You are the leader in your business. So the standards that you set lead the energy of the entire business and the whole team. So it matters what standards you set, not only for yourself and how you show up to this beautiful container, but also for your team members and those that you employ or those that you contract or those that you work with. What would it be like to set a more elevated standard? The truth is, people like high standards because it feels really good to excel. It feels really good to know what the standard is for yourself and for your team. So think about that. Also, clients. This is a big one, right? Where are you saying yes to clients that you know aren't quite right, maybe out of scarcity? Maybe out of fear, maybe out of, if I don't take this client, I'm not going to get another one, even though you know it's not really the right client for you. It's not fully aligned, right? So set a higher standard in terms of the types of clients that you're calling in and be willing to abundantly say no to those who are not in alignment. It will make your business so much better, so much cleaner, such better results for your clients, such happier clients, in fact, and a happier leader, happier CEO, all these things, right? So I want you to reflect on that. What are the energy leaks in your business? What is it that you need to let go of because it is not at the high standard you are setting for yourself? And the last one for business is, what's the standard in terms of your vision? How can you 10x that vision? And I don't always mean 10x has to mean 10 times the amount of money that you're making, but it's like 10 times more aligned, feeling 10 times better. Maybe it is making 10 times more, right? Maybe it's 10 times more impact. Maybe it's just 10 times like more alignment in terms of how you work. But what is that 10x for you? Really reflect on that and set that standard for yourself, because the standard you set is the standard you manifest. It is what you create. Okay, shifting gears, and let's talk about the standards for your life. Now, the reason I want to bring this in is because your life and your business go hand in hand, and your life and your money, like all of this is very holistic. So when you improve your life, you can easily improve your business. You can easily improve your financial reality, right? It's like There is a ripple effect to all of this. So environment matters, alignment matters, relationships matter. Your relationship with, if you are spiritual or religious or, your self-care, all of this really, really matters. Your health, huge. So where are you neglecting your life? Where are you neglecting yourself? And what can you do to start setting higher standards for yourself? Because I shared a couple of personal examples from me was around, I'm not getting married unless it's to someone amazing. Well, I did happen to find someone absolutely amazing, which is why I got married. But I had very, very high standards of who that person was going to be, how I was going to feel around them, how I was going to be able to be. Like, can I be fully myself around them, right? I talked about location and environment. This matters so much. Health-wise, I have really high standards for my health. I've gone on a whole health journey, and all this impacts my business in such a huge way. So think about where you're neglecting yourself and where you can elevate your standard a bit, right? And one thing that I heard today, actually, which was from Michael Beckwith, one of my favorite teachers, this was just on his podcast, Take Back Your Mind. He talked about discipline is blissipline. Let me say it again. Discipline is blissipline, like BLISS, discipline becomes blissipline. Because when you become disciplined to your standards, I'm putting this now in my language, right? When you become disciplined to your standards, you feel a sense of bliss. This is when you feel so well mentally, so well spiritually, so well physically, right? Is when you have discipline. And when you set those standards and you stay disciplined to them, meaning you don't say, I want an amazing relationship, and then keep letting someone treat you horribly, or keep not showing up, or keep, just whatever, right? You don't let someone treat you like crap. That is not holding the discipline of your standard. You have to hold the discipline to the standard. It's huge. And sometimes it's not easy. I'm not going to lie. And we're going to talk about how to keep that discipline and how to hold these standards, right? Because it does take a lot of patience. It takes a lot of setting boundaries. It takes a lot of trusting, right? Just like with this house, like I could have said yes to 5 other homes that would have worked, but they all felt like B's. They didn't feel like what I wanted to move to Maui for. So I stayed disciplined to my vision, even though I didn't know if it was going to unfold. It felt like very uncertain, and I had to hold space for a lot of uncertainty, but I stayed disciplined to it. And I didn't say yes to almosts or to maybes or to good enoughs, right? That is so important. Okay, so let's quickly dive into the 6 steps to raise your standards, how to actually raise them. Number 1, get radically honest about what you've been tolerating. You have to see, I keep saying, where are these energy leaks? What are you tolerating? What is just good enough, but it's not what you want for your life? And I have to be honest, it is actually very scary to go there sometimes. You have to get honest with yourself. You have to be really radically honest with yourself and say, this isn't what I really want. And sometimes that takes so much courage, especially when it means, ending relationships or having hard conversations or letting people go or letting businesses go, letting offers go, right? I've done all of the above. It's not always easy. It takes a lot of courage, but you have to know there's so much energy and momentum on the other side of that tough thing. And it is what will make you feel most alive and aligned. So always keep your eye on what actually feels aligned when you're letting it go. And just lean into the courage. You have to get honest with yourself. Number 2 is actually deciding what your new standard is. I want to encourage you to make a list of your new standards for your money, for your business, and for your life. What are some new standards that you would like to have and hold and stay disciplined to? What's the new vision for yourself? Because you get to choose it. It's not going to choose itself. It's not going to just show up on its own most of the time. It's something that you have to intentionally create, right? So make a list for yourself. What are your new standards that you are setting for yourself? And then number 3 is about taking aligned decisions towards them. It's the practice of consistently moving towards it. So that means, like I said, if you want a great relationship, you can't put up with a crappy relationship. You have to be willing to say no. You have to be willing to let people go, right? So it's actually asking yourself, are my actions in alignment with my new standard? You have to practice being in that standard, being the person who upholds that standard. And it is a practice. Now, number 4, it's really about being patient, not only with the new standard, but also with yourself, because these things aren't always going to manifest right away. So, for example, with this home in Hawaii, I stayed consistent and patient with this vision for many, many years. In fact, we've had a lot of fall throughs. My husband wasn't fully on board with it. There was a lot that I had to work through, but I stayed patient with it. And I just decided it is done. It is happening in my future. I don't know the how, I don't know the timeline, but I see it. I'm moving towards it. I'm holding that standard, but you have to stay patient with it, right? And in business too, it's like a lot of times you have to become the person who can hold that standard. So be patient and practice. Number 5 is stay present and really cultivate the emotions that you want on purpose. So what I mean is, do not wait to be living into that new standard to feel good about yourself, or do not wait to be living into that standard to feel in alignment. You have to start creating those emotions that you want ahead of time. And that's actually, manifestation one-on-one is to start living into the emotions first. And that's what's going to help you manifest that new standard, manifest that new life, right? So start cultivating those emotions like abundance before you actually have it, like calm before your bank account is steady and consistent, like, let's say nurtured or cared for or loved before that solid relationship shows up. So start cultivating the emotions that your new standard that you set is what you want to live into. But do it before that standard is here. Do it before the vision is here, because that's what's going to help you attract it. You have to learn to emotionally regulate yourself, to let go of the things that are not in alignment for you, right? To let go of the emotions that you're consistently leading into that are not in alignment. And many times coaching, therapy, breath work, EFT tapping, you name it, right? All the modalities, retreats, meditation, all of that is going to help with the emotional piece of being present in the feelings that you want on purpose. And again, that's a practice and something you have to stay patient with as well. And then number 6, in terms of living into your new standard, is repeat until it feels natural. So repeat these steps, hold the vision, know that it's done, practice emotions on purpose, take action towards it, right? Start aligning your actions as if it's happening. Step into that future version of you. Know that it's done at some point in your future and start feeling that future ahead of time and practice that, repeat it until it feels natural. And that's how this thing is going to be attracted into your life, right? It's not about the how always. Like that person on TikTok who said, what are you all doing that allows you to have a $500,000 house, right? It's like, no, it's not about what are you doing. It's what do you feel deserving of and what do you believe is possible? And are you taking the steps towards it? And you decide that that's your standard. That's what you want for yourself. That's what you're going for. That's how it's going to unfold. So my friend, it is time to raise your standards. I'm so excited for you. We've got lots of things to reflect on with this episode. You may have to listen to it 2 times, maybe 3 times, maybe another time where you take notes, but this is where the magic happens. And I'm so excited for all of you. All right, happy manifesting. Hey, thanks for listening. I hope this episode is something that you'll be able to add to your manifestation toolbox to come back to when you need a little extra motivation. If you like what you've heard today and want to take it deeper, you've got to come check out my signature coaching program, the Money Manifestation Movement. It's the place where you'll not only learn manifestation, but you'll begin to live it alongside me and an amazing community of like-minded entrepreneurs doing this work together. Head on over to jamieberman.com to learn more.